Finding intercepts. To find the x-intercept, we substitute 0 for y and solve for x. To find the y-intercept, we substitute 0 for x and solve for y. Example, y equals negative 2/3 x plus 3. Okay, so do remember our equation in this case, y equals negative, and our b value is 3, and slope is 2/3, right? So y equals negative 2/3 x plus 3. So y-intercept is of the form 0, comma b, agreed? In this case, we're substituting 0 for the x value to solve for the y-intercept. Okay, so substitute 0 where the x is, our slopes, and y-intercept still the same, or b value. Keep in mind, we can make our life easier. So substituting 0, 0 times negative 2/3 gives us 0. 0 plus 3 gives us 3. Y equals 3 then. So 3 is our y-intercept. Agreed? Do notice, we could have actually noticed this from the beginning. It's just in our equation. Our equation, y equals negative 2/3 x plus 3, the positive 3 or the plus 3 is the v value. So we could have avoided doing all this work and just stated that it's the v value, it's the 3 in the equation. So the value that does not have a variable. Okay, let's try to find the x-intercept of that particular equation. And do remember, in this case, the y value is the one that is 0. When we're looking for the x-intercept, the y value is 0. So we're going to substitute 0 equals into the original equation. 0 equals negative 2/3 x plus 3. Okay, and let's solve for x. Let's get rid of the 3. What we do to one side, we must do to the other. So minus 3 from both sides. 3 minus 3 cancels out on the right side. 0 minus 3. That gives us negative 3 equals negative 2/3 x. Agreed? So we want to get rid of the 2/3. It's multiplying. Opposite would be to divide. But divide will make it a little bit tricky, right? Because it's a fraction. So instead we use a reciprocal. And remember, what we do to one side, we must do to the other. So we're going to multiply by the reciprocal. Reciprocal of 2/3. That means you flip the fraction. And we're taking the negative along with in this case. So instead of 2/3, it now becomes 3/2. That's the reciprocal of 2/3. So 3/2. What we do to one side, let's remember, we're getting rid of the negative as well, but we must also do to the other side. So notice that on the right side, we have, well, before we do that, let's try to divide or put over 1 for the negative 3. This makes it easier to multiply it later on, okay? But for now, once again, now let's try to cancel on the right side. 3 dividing, 3 multiplying, cancel each other out. And now the 2's. 2 dividing, 2 multiplying, cancel each other out. Negative times the negative, they'll cancel out, giving us a positive, so that leaves us with just the x. And now we can multiply. Negative 3 times negative 3, negative times a negative is a positive. 3 times 3 gives us 9. And 2 times 1 gives us 2. Once again, we're multiplying straight. Fractions, we multiply straight. Agreed? So that gives us the 9/2 equals x. Well, we now have the y-intercept. You can keep it as an exact value, or get an approximate, in other words, a decimal value, I should say in this case, because it'll make it easier to plot if you need to plot it. So 9 divided by 2 gives us 4.5. So our x value of the intercept is 4.5. There is our x-intercept, 4.5 comma 0. And there's our solution. We just now have found the y-intercept and x-intercepts for our equation.